All right, welcome back to another edition of the Art Marketing Podcast. I've got Nick with me, and Nick, I have been asking for a ton of feedback recently, okay? You and I, we've been all over the place in this podcast over the years. We've got a ton of different content. We arrived at 3 different episode types, which are the hard-hitting marketing tactical, artist interviews, and then you and I just ranting a little bit, current events, current topic. I've been asking a ton of you guys, which episodes do you like best? What are you getting the most value out of? And you know what I hear time and time again? It is the motivation, encouragement, and inspiration that we offer, okay? One, the positivity about where we see this industry going and how things are growing and how that's awesome. 2, the motivate me and get me up off my butt so that I can stay consistent and keep working. And 3, just how we present those facts. And so Nick and I have heard your feedback, okay? We will come with more positivity, more motivation, more inspiration. And we always like to start these off, Nick, with where are we right now and why does it matter? Okay. And where we are right now at the time of this recording is we're into June. Summer is already rolling. And a beautiful thing about summer, and I'll show the graphic and then you can rant about it a little bit, it is quite literally the second biggest art selling time of the year. Okay. We all know Q4 and the holiday is the biggest, but we see across all of our customers' websites, the entire platform, that art sales actually increase in the summer season, which is super counterintuitive. We're going to get into some of the reasons why, but this is proven to be an extremely important time to be selling your art, to be selling your photography, to do your marketing and get your business out there.
Yeah, when you start thinking about it, it makes a lot of common sense, right? There's a lot of common sense to why that is. Like people are out and about, they're vacationing. You just think about if you're down at the beach or you're in a city walking the streets of Chicago or Austin or to wherever you live, people have booths out. I actually was just at an event this last weekend randomly, and the venue that we were at, they have a U-shaped section with probably 15 booths of different artisans. And it's just a reminder that this is the time that this stuff starts happening. And you're not used to seeing these things in the wintertime. And so people are out, they're walking around, you're shopping at these booths, art is being sold in person. And then, of course, from an online standpoint and just generally speaking, with people moving, because the key thing is like families are moving in any economy, it doesn't matter what it is, because they have to get their kids in the school district that they want, or they're trying to get closer to school. They're trying to optimize their life a little bit. And with every move, whether they're renting or they're buying, it doesn't matter. People have to move around. We all have friends that are moving around a little bit. They got to upsize, they got to downsize. All of that in the new house just means that there's more decorating to be done. Art gets sold. The summer season, second biggest art selling time of the year. Even more important is understanding that we are basically now through the rest of the year in the biggest art selling time. And that is just super exciting. So demand is going to be higher this summer. And then we get right into the fourth quarter, the biggest art selling time of the year, which is October, November, and December for obvious reasons, the holidays, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, everything around it. And so this is the time. This is the time to like really get into gear, do your marketing, get your website done, get those things done, try some different artwork or products. This is really the time to kick things into gear. So I love this time, Pat. I think this is an exciting time, and it goes all the way through the rest of the year.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I think it's important to say, and we say this a lot, but I like continuing to hammer these things. Don't get hung up on my art, my photography is not a holiday selling time type of business. It cannot comport to holidays. It does not comport to buying seasons. We are just talking about commerce in a macro, and art and photography and wall art particularly absolutely falls into this bucket. And so it's like when the odds are in your favor, when the wind is in your back, is when you want to be doing your active life and when you want to be having your sales. And we've studied this and we've contemplated this over the years. And it's important to know when moves happen, wall space opens up. Okay. No other time. And so summer, okay, in terms of housing stats, it's the busiest months for moving and relocation. Obviously, the weather is much warmer for you folks that have been in hibernation. Welcome back. It's nice to see you again. People are out and about and running around. The school schedules plays a huge role in it. So obviously moving here or there to get your kid into whatever school district or however that works. The majority of lease cycles, okay, across the United States tend to end. So the leases and the rentals are up for renewal in the summer. A lot of people are out because of summer rentals and such. So that plays a big role. And then summer is the number one time, Nick, when people move for jobs, okay, and relocate to get all dialed in before the school season and everything else. But in addition to that, like one of the things that most people don't talk about, I find moving's at the highest during the summer months. But most artists and photographers, like all of us, like to slow down in the summer, like to get out in the weather, like to take some time off. And that gives you the opportunity to stay on your marketing when others are not, more access to attention. And then also access to attention is an all-time high because people spend more time on their cell phones in the summer when they are sitting at the pool, when they don't have as many job responsibilities, when they're trying to unwind, when they're trying to enjoy themselves outdoors. So it's very important to understand that it is an incredible selling season. A ton of art, a ton of photography will be sold. So in that context, if you're like, I'm just going to get back to this for the fourth quarter and get started later, do not. Get going right now. Step on the gas right now. It is just a fantastic time to be marketing. And we're into June now, but we still have some big holidays coming up. 4th of July, huge holiday. Generally speaking, the summer sale, the summer selling season, take your pick on which one of those work for you and water ski behind that. And then very quickly, it's going to be the end. It's going to be, what is the end? Memorial Day, right? Labor Day. Then it's Labor Day. And then you all know that we're into it. We will be banging the Q4 drum like crazy. So I think it's important to just know those facts at a macro. And it's important to know that like now is the time to be on the gas. The work that you start doing now, the groundwork you start laying, the letting people exist, all are going to pay more dividends now than if you were doing this 3 months ago. And all of the momentum will just carry you into Q4.
That's right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Which is amazing. So we always have to be on the selling season. Next, if you're ready, I want to pivot to this notion of the interest-based algorithm, okay? And my game plan in this is I have a short rant, drink some coffee, and then I want to show you some examples of what I mean on this so that everyone can have a look. And we are living through right now, Nick, a tectonic shift in social media, okay? And it's specifically the movement from a likes, fans, followers model plus paid ads to an interest-based algorithm model. And succinctly, the socials, by which I mean all of them, have determined the best way to keep people on their platforms, which is all they care about, is to serve content they think we will like based on our past behavior. And what that means essentially is that the algorithm knows better what will entertain us than what we choose to go out and like explicitly on our own, okay? In the past, you would have had to have followed all of these various different accounts and do that legwork to then get that content. And they're saying, we know better. And it makes sense when you think about it, Nick, because like in the old school days of the TV, the boob tube, you would just sit there and watch what comes on it. You take what you are fed and consume it. And it's this notion of, I don't want to be responsible to work to find the stuff, okay, that I should be following. I'm busy. I have responsibilities. You seem pretty good at it. I'm trying to unwind. Just show me something entertaining. And it's like this notion of all the patterns of old are new again in this like social world that we live on. And the bottom line is they better know how to entertain us. And we have voted in favor of this with our attention. Okay. And so this trend is here to stay until that changes, not anytime soon. And I think both you and I have talked about how amazing this is for creators. Okay. And especially the little guy, right? You create content and the follower count is no longer this dead weight of preventing you from being discovered. And it's an amazing time to be alive. Gary Vee calls it the TikTokification of social media. And, you know, while we both on this show and on this podcast and in live broadcasts, we've talked about this and plenty of others have talked about this. If you are a wildlife photographer that specializes in shooting bears in Montana, the algorithm is going to know that you are shooting bears in Montana, and it is going to show that content to people that love bears in Montana. So this micro focus on content, the people that like that content, the social network showing those people that content is amazing. And that's happening organically, and that's happening regardless of the number of followers you have. But guess what? Not everybody is going to like bears in Montana, okay? Some have no interest, so they won't see it. So this is where I want to get into this crazy thing that I've been witnessing, and I want to get your interpretation of how you've been seeing it. But what I am finding to be absolutely wild, encouraging, and quite frankly, just amazing is what happens when an artist hits with just plain creativity as the audience. It's not about bears in Montana. What's amazing about it is just the pure creativity of it. And i.e., show this to people that just appreciate creativity, people of all interest types across all demos and across all countries. Okay. And it's what I like to call, this is just the cool content. Okay. So in contrast to, I'm shooting bears in Montana, show this to people that love nature and bears in Montana. What if you just make something that's cool? What if your audience is just people that like creativity? And I'm not talking about an artist or a photographer going viral with their cooking video or hula hoop video or epic fail video, right? Because when artists create those things, and while they do, we've had some customers go super viral, it doesn't translate into followers and it doesn't translate into sales. What I have been witnessing, what I have been following is artists and creatives that are super creative that have been zigging when everyone else zags. And they're so damn creative that the content goes viral to people that just really like creativity. And not only am I seeing this happen, Nick, across platforms, they might create on Insta, and then I see it on both Facebook, YouTube, and X, or any combination in between. There's now this, like, you made something really creative. There is now this like amplification echo chamber where it's crossing the platforms and going back and forth. And I have some examples of this. I want to get your 2 cents on this, but I have been watching this phenomenon like closely. Okay. And not only are these artists getting a ton of attention, but they are turning them into massive art businesses. Creativity, this is something that we say all the time, remains the variable. Okay. And these creators are doing this by applying their artistic talent and creativity to do something that no one else has done. Okay. Or very few. And my goodness, are the socials rewarding them with free attention, and they are building amazing businesses as a result. So your browsing behavior has been primarily Twitter X, right? I'm on all the damn socials all day long, so I see it. But do you feel like in your feed, you've been getting more exposure to artists than you have at any other time? Do you feel like you are coming across this content and seeing it and going, oh my gosh, how did they serve this to you? You're reading about business trends and software trends and entrepreneurial stuff because you're running this company. Do you feel like you've been more exposed to it and seeing more of these individual creators pop into your feed?
Oh, absolutely. And because I think it's not just the creators. It could be like comedians which is a creative, which is an artist anyway, but it's various types of stuff that just is good content. It's just really good, entertaining content. And I think, yes, these things might not like translate right into sales, but it does translate into attention. And getting attention of people is one of the biggest things that you have to do in any business. And so you are getting that attention, and you're probably getting some people interested in you, and the algorithms will also know who actually watched your thing in full and who liked it and all that type of stuff. And because I've also noticed that some of the ones that I've actually watched all the way through, maybe clicked to their profile or something like that, I start seeing more content from those people, but I have not followed them. I have not followed them.
Wild. I want to give you guys 3 examples. And if you are not watching the podcast on YouTube, you can get the links to these things in the show notes. But I want to give you 3 examples. Okay. And again, for me, the phenomenon is not just going viral on one platform. I am watching it spread organically to the 3 or 4 main ones, to YouTube, Twitter now, to LinkedIn, to Instagram, to Facebook. It's like, it's everywhere. Okay. And the first example that I want to give you is an artist in Mexico. Okay. It's called dpcustomsmx. And what this artist has been doing is basically recycling, upcycling, grabbing brand new pairs of shoes. Okay. And is this showing on the screen? Yeah. And painting them. Okay. And this is a gal in Mazatlan, Mexico. Okay. And I believe they have 398,000 followers on this one. But here's the thing that's absolutely wild about this. And she's making all kinds of crazy shoes. Okay. An international artist with the massive following. And you sit here and you read the stats on it. Started in 2017, 21 women directly working for the company in a massive store in Mazatlan, Mexico. Okay. This is the perfect example, Nick. I do not have a damn shred of interest in buying someone that is painted on my shoes. Okay. I put on shoes and I ruin them. These things started popping into my feed and I had no interest in this whatsoever. But you look at it and you're like, man, this is just cool. Here is a group of women that have built a huge, massive business, okay? And growing business, by the way, just for context, artists and photographers. When did the business start, Nick?
2017.
What year are we in now?
2024.
How long does it take to grow a fantastic art and photography business?
Okay. 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. You didn't see this one, okay? But I guarantee you've seen this one. Tell me you have not seen Andrew Scott's artwork, okay?
I have.
This guy, you cannot avoid, okay? And in one of the common refrains that we get, and it's like a little bit of a snarky comment, but I could do that. My art is so much better than that, right? Like his drawings, his paintings are not necessarily the high level of creativity. And for those that are listening, this is a guy that like, he paints these small children involved in children activities for the most part. And then he really incorporates like very interesting sort of techniques with the frame and placing images on top of it. And these works are amazing. And what's wild is I've been following this guy and seeing him go viral for 3 years now, Nick. And he started selling his own work. Now he's 100% gallery represented. He has a massive business going on. I'm seeing him getting shared by curators on X. I'm seeing it on YouTube. I'm seeing him get interviewed. And the point is, this is highly creative, but he's doing it highly creative in a different capacity into which everyone else is doing it. Okay. It's not just an image that he painted. It is something that completely sets him apart. And again, you've got a massive business built as a result. So I've witnessed this one grow like crazy, which is amazing. And the final one is this guy, Dave Pollot. Okay. And this guy, and again, 10 years at it, Nick, 10 years. Okay. This guy goes and buys artwork at a thrift shop or wherever the heck he gets it at a garage sale, and he upcycles it. Okay. Where he paints wild things into the art. You could see him, he's chewing and chomping up the frame and everything else. Yeah. I love this guy. I can't escape him now. He like Super Mario Brothers stuff. You look at this guy. This is so creative and not something someone else did. He like inserted a huge sandworm. He's newsjacking to a huge sandworm, the mystery machine. But I go and look at his site, Nick, and look at his original flex. Sold out. This guy's selling artworks from 2,000 up to 10,000 on the originals. He's selling prints. And he's grown a massive business. And I continue to observe this. And I am just so damn over the moon at the potential, dude. This was not possible 10 years ago, Nick. These people individually, without any help aside from their creativity, are creating content on the socials, doing so consistently, and they're building massive art businesses.
That's the main point, right? Is that when you guys hear the creator economy, right, you're going to be hearing that phrase a lot. And you see all the big firms that are out there, like the most reputable, like Goldman Sachs down to whatever it is, and talking about what is happening in the creator economy, business, like entrepreneurs succeeding with it. It's all going up and to the right in terms of like sales and growth. And that's all expected over the next 20 years. And this is why. This is exactly why. It's what you just went through from start to finish there. And to go back to what you were talking about at the beginning, just with the social media stuff, I'm just reminded of Gary Vaynerchuk. For those of you who don't know who he is, he's been like a leading marketing guy in especially in social media. The guy banging the drum on social media in like, 2009, 10, 11, 12, like when nobody would listen, except for you. You always listened to it. And you were telling me as well,
Still do.
Yeah, still do. What's amazing though, is like just remembering those talks that he had where he was like, this is going to change everything and it's changing it right now. And if you are not using this as an entrepreneur in any type of a business, you're insane. And it's amazing to see where we are today, where the platforms are giving you this sort of love, where you as a creator out of your home with no employees, no business, no money, right? No ads. Like you don't have to buy any ads or do anything like that. You can go and do this stuff. Look at those gals in Mazatlan, Mexico with 380,000 followers, just painting shoes, talents, painting shoes. That is the difference, is that they made a decision to paint shoes. They could have easily just had their own artwork with their own niche, and it might not be selling very well, as a lot of artists out there are in that position. But it's the way that they approached it. And you notice when you're showing those things and Andrew's artwork and that process, I just want everybody who just saw that, and if you're listening, you should watch the videos as Pat was talking about all that stuff of each of those artists, because if you didn't take away how entertaining those videos were, okay, you miss points.
True.
Because it was so entertaining. I'm watching her. I'm not going to buy those shoes either. But you know what I will do, Pat? I will tell some friends about it. I will tell some friends about that. My kids will probably...
You might buy a pair for your daughter, though.
I very well may. But you see the point of that? It's not... It's like, I'm seeing it. I might not follow them, but now I know about them, and I might tell a friend, and then a friend ends up following them or ends up buying something, and the original creator has no idea how that sale actually came about. But it actually originated from just entertaining on social media and that stuff actually spreading. And so you have to understand as a creator how this whole thing works. They're basically showing their process and including people in their process, which for any artist is the easiest way to do it because it doesn't require you like overtly having to talk to people and be on camera. And I know everybody is afraid of that for the most part. You can actually just show your work, show your creativity, show your process, how you're doing it. You can talk about it as well if you want, but if you simply show your process and bring people into your world, they appreciate the artistry of it. It has more value. It's more warm rather than cold. And what I mean by that is the warmer that it is, the more people understand the time and effort and preciseness and talent that you put into it, the more they're willing to pay. And that's a big contrast from the big art selling websites where you just upload your art onto a marketplace, whether it's like a Fine Art America or Art.com or like any of these types of companies. And nothing against those companies. It's just important to understand the game and the landscape here, right? When you are just selling your art coldly against everybody else's, it's just a price war and a race to the bottom because they can just see every type of art that's in that genre. When, in contrast, when you are marketing directly and it's you, okay, you get to build value directly with people. You're on your own on a price point that you're setting completely on your own, like the ones Patrick was showing, which were absurdly high in some cases, but people are paying it because the value is there. And you'd watch those social media posts, Pat, that you showed, and you look at those prices and you're like, I get it. I'm not like, these are outlandish prices. I'm like, that's pretty good work and it's really cool. And there's a story behind all of it.
Conversation starter at your house, anywhere else. Like
that's exactly right. It's, you got that in the wall in your house, like with the Star Wars things on it. Somebody's, what is that? It just, it just hits you out of the blue. So this is just creatives being creative and then telling their story with it on social media, and contrast that with what most artists do, which is just upload 2D image after 2D image of their art, maybe write a little bit, get a bunch of likes and on it, and then go, why am I not selling anything? Even people are liking it, but they're not buying. And it's just, you understand this game and what you need to be doing going forward, because it affects your storytelling and the way you're showing and the way you're posting on social media. It's not just about going viral and getting in front of more people. It's understanding that it impacts your price points. It impacts, are you actually like creating fans, or are you just like entertaining like a travel blogger? Are you just like an entertainer? And there's a big difference between those two.
Yeah. You know what's interesting that you said is like this notion of the content creator, emerging. We've been at this for a while. It's been happening for years. And you could argue all of the early segments, right? Like with early gamers and early YouTubers and early streamers and a bunch of different industries where it impacted well before art and photography. Now it is really seriously coming into the art world. And you made mention of, who did you use? You used Merrill Lynch or BlackRock or any of these big firms. They're all trying to get into this game of the content creator marketplace because they're pissed off. They've been jumped. They've had their fence jumped. This model of direct-to-consumer marketing, I don't need a gallery getting in the way. I don't need an art publisher. I don't need an art agent. All I need is my creativity and getting onto this channel, and I can win. And we are continuing to see the power of it. And what Nick and I have been reading behind the scenes and like the whole software is like, everybody wants a piece of this now. Everybody wants a piece of the creator economy because they had pieces of it in the old business models, and now there's none. Like you look at those three, right? Those are all probably significant 6, potentially 7-figure a year businesses started by the individual grinding on social media. That has not been the case. Not like this, not now. How long have you and I been saying this is the greatest time ever to be an artist or a photographer? It is. It just is. I'm sorry.
It is.
And it's not get this distribution before.
And we were saying this 5 years ago, and it just keeps getting better and better because the tailwinds are on the side of the individual creator. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That the tailwinds are on the side, and this is why everything has changed. You could not say this 20 years ago. No, being an artist was not a good business 20 years ago. It's important to say that. It's very important to say that. And when I say not a good business, a tough business, really tough business. You needed a lot of people. You needed galleries. You needed publishers.
The power law ruled all.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like you barely had any distribution. You could go to some local shows, but you couldn't sell globally. You couldn't launch your own gallery, ID your own website online. There was just so many things that were problematic. You go back 30 years, there was no print on demand. And I've lived through all of this because I've been in the art industry for 25 years. And so I've seen these different milestones happen. And it's little did we know that starting in like the late 90s is really when things started tipping in favor of the creator. And it's just every year, here we are 25, 30 years later, and it's just unbelievable. And you have artists that are making hundreds of thousands of dollars, $1 million businesses, like for real, out of their houses, traveling, like living the life they want to live.
Not in a gallery, no agents, on their own, or by their own design, how they want to do it. And it,
it's such an amazing time.
You know, what's even more staggering as I was looking at their Instagram profiles, aside from the gals in the shoes, the other two, they're not even following all the rules. Okay. I could audit those profiles and be like, you need to dial in this, you need to dial in this to get better results. And they will get better results, but it doesn't matter because they sorted the demand piece. You can do anything with demand. And it's never been easier to generate. It gives us a nice segue to the next section, what I want to conclude on today, which is, you were mentioning what do most artists do, right? They're just posting the 2D images and posting the 2D images. And I didn't pull the stats on how many social media posts get dropped in a single solitary day. But one trend that I've seen continuing to emerge is incorporating story into your work, talking about it. It goes all the way from talking about your process to talking about your inspiration, to talking about how difficult this thing was to create, to talking about overall how it's emotionally connective to you, okay? I've talked, Nick, on here a number of different times, but I've never linked to it. So I want to show this quickly. So we have this photographer, and Nick and I are good buddies with him. His name is Tim Laman, insanely talented conservationist, PhD. His wife's got a PhD. They have done so much to save the environment. It's insane. And he's attempting to build a business on this amazing wildlife photography that he's done. Okay. During the course of talking to him, he did this talk at Sunnylands. Sunnylands is this Annenberg house. It was their winter house. It's 200 acres in the desert. Okay. And he did this speech. All right. And I'm playing it really quickly here. He did this speech where he's talking. He was invited to the place 8 times or 9 times, something like this, 8 or 9 times. And to photograph just the flora and the fauna of this particular thing. I'm going to include a link to this thing on YouTube in the show notes. But what I noticed after watching this about his work is just how profound an impact it had on me and my connection to the work that he did. And he was talking about this story, okay, talking about how many days he had to devote to get these photographs and the tradecraft that went through it, and his knowledge of birds and their behaviors and their patterns, and when they were going to come back to the nest and when they went out for feeding and when he needed to get into position, and just how hard he worked and telling the story about the birds, about the land, about how hard he had to work to get the photos. And dude, it had a profound impact on me. Like, I felt way more connected to the work. And I've told this story on live and everything else. This will be the first time I actually share the link, so it'll be in the show notes. But I'm seeing it emerge more and more across customers. Okay. I interviewed a customer this week, and retired band teacher. All right. Taught band his entire life. Never sold a single solitary photograph. Retired, started shooting, signed up with us. He's in year 3, proper growth. Okay. I think he hit 29,000, 30,000 last year, now on his way to 50, maybe 55 by the time his 3rd year's done, somewhere around there. I have to go back to the interview and look. But what niche he's in is the same as Tim's. Okay. wildlife photography, which I believe want to be one of the most difficult niches to break into. Because why? You are competing against a million other people and they all have the same cameras. They're all going to the same places. And it just becomes a game of who can devote more hours to be in the right place at the right time. Or do you incorporate story? And this guy, Nick, has been incorporating story. He has been incorporating story and the emotions of growing up in this place, which is like northern Michigan, Wisconsin, and talking about his love of the birds as a result of that and his love of the animals. And guess what? He's come out of nowhere with no following and he's ripping a business, right? This notion of story and how you can include it is how you differentiate yourself from the 10 million images that are getting posted every single solitary day, okay? Which images are going to have this story because that is the blade of grass that is sticking up.
Yeah, look, I was just talking about it earlier and I could not agree more. I think this is the most important thing that any artist can do. Let me just say that again. In your marketing, I believe with 25 years in this art industry that this is the most important thing that you can do in your marketing, okay? And for many reasons, I talked about price points. I talked about fans, right? The way you want to think about this is I want a backstage pass. You got your concert. I want the backstage pass. Give people the backstage pass. Are you creating content that can create fans, right? Like if you want to create deep fans that really want to follow you and are interested in what you're doing and all that stuff, bring them backstage. Give them an inside look. That is the differentiator. And I think another main point, another major point, okay, is that the world does not need any more art. Okay, there's no shortage of images on social media or on websites or anything like that, okay? There's no supply problem of art. This is where all of you who are concerned about AI art, like you have no concern. There's no supply of art problem where everybody are going completely. There is a massive oversupply of art, okay? What there is not, okay, are creatives who are marketing directly, creating connections with people, and giving a chance for people to connect with you. The only way I can connect with you is if I understand what you're doing. If you post some bird photos, I have no connection at all. No different path than the people we were showing earlier. If they just showed the painted shoes finished or one of those pieces finished, I might not connect with it as much. But watching the artwork actually being done and the artistry behind it and all that, it just brings you in a little bit more. You feel like you're standing in the factory. You feel like you're standing there observing the artist as he's finishing the piece, when he's framing it and crunching the frame and doing those things that he was doing. And like all of this stuff is what captures the attention of potential consumers to actually want to follow what you're doing and want to, when that post comes in their feed, they watch it a little bit more. And little do you know, with each one of those that continues to happen, they're one step closer moving down your funnel to actually buying something or talking about you to somebody else. And this is the whole key. And that's why it's such a big difference between the artists who are actually doing this and telling a story and creating a connection with people and seeing that people are connecting with them. That's the feedback loop that you want to see, versus the artists that are just posting 2D images like a travel blogger with a little bit of text. And it's like, the world has enough of that. The world has enough of that.
This is like one of those things where it's like, how can we completely invert our thinking? Okay. And let me explain what I mean by that. Boom, Nick, here's my image. I've showed you the image, right? Don't show me the image. Do not show me the image. Build the story and then show me the image. Don't just show me the image. Build the story, right? It's if you think of an assembly line, I don't want to be at the end of the assembly line and see the beautiful brand new product rolling off the shelf. I want to see all of those steps along the way that led to that beautiful thing leading off the shelf, right? Don't the star of the show, okay, right out of the gates. There's opening acts, right? I got to come up with a better analogy for what it is. The factory, everyone hates that one, but what are those little building blocks that you can do to eventually show that thing?
I love what you said. Don't show me the final thing on the factory line, because if you take any of those artists that we were looking at and you look at the product at the end of the factory line, it's like you missed all the value, all the time and artistry and expertise and your whole life that has created this moment for you to be able to create this artistic piece. And it's, what are the most artists? They just post that final image. They just post the final image. Yet they were so deliberate in the case of a photographer about the camera they bought and the lens that they bought. And they might have returned 2 lenses and got the 3rd one because it had the exact thing they needed, and how early they woke up in the morning to go get that shot and how many days it took. I've been doing this for so long. Like, I know the painstaking amount of hours that so many photographers go through to get to a certain location, to scout it out, to sit there, and the right weather, like the right lighting, all of it has to be there. And there's so much in that. And most of the time, none of that is conveyed. None of that is conveyed.
No.
And so the consumer has no way of understanding the price point or the value or becoming a fan, a casual fan, even if, like, you and I are both fans of Tim Laman, and I would never hang a bird photo in my house. But you know what I do? I talk about Tim all the time. Oh my gosh, this guy is like hanging up 100 feet in the air in trees in Indonesia for days to just get this one shot. I mean, the awe that I have of this is just incredible. And maybe I would at some point buy something from him. I'm not saying that I'm out of the game on it, but what I am saying is that he's got a non-bird aficionado, right? He's got, and paying attention to him and interested in what he's doing, because what he's doing is cool and interesting. And it's just fascinating. And I would read articles about Tim because they're so fascinating what he's doing. And that's what's so interesting about it. And that's how you create fans. That's how you create word of mouth. This is how you really grow a following.
It's wild. I'll take it to a current event, but I was watching these 2 people, I can't remember where I found the video, but debating this whole recent court decision with Elon Musk and his compensation. And it started leading with the photo, like we just said, leading with the photo instead of the story. And the photo, in this case, was a headline: massive compensation to an already billionaire that made so much money. It's not right. No one should be compensated that level, whatever. And you look at that, and you look at the headline, and you look at his net worth, and you're on their side for a second. You're like, this does seem like crazy. Then someone told the whole story of no salary and sleeping on the factory floor and almost going out of business and having to erect the tent on the side of the other facility. And the fact that none of these people were even able to go home for long stretches at a time, 7 days a week, working weekends, the whole thing. And after the whole story was articulated, you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. Like, maybe that guy did earn it. And that's the point. Like, in this world of short attention span theater that we live in, it's just an image of just showing. It's just an image. And
people have seen enough images.
It might be a damn good image. It might be an incredible image. It might really get my attention. And that's not the argument. The argument is the product, and that's what it is. But how much it's accentuated by the story is staggering. And so I think a challenge to all of you guys is, again, how do you invert it? How do you do all these little stepping stones to get to the image instead of just the image and no stones at all?
Yep. Bring people backstage. There's some good mental frameworks for you guys to start with this. Bring them backstage. Bring them into your studio. Bring them into your process. Imagine that there's like I'm your imaginary friend. Patrick and I are right there. We're now your virtual friends. Okay. And the second you go to start creating something, you're thinking about it. It's even in your head. Yeah. We're sitting right there with you. Start talking about it. Tell us, hey, you have an idea of a new shoot? What are you thinking? Tell me about it. The story is beginning right there. Oh, you're thinking about a new product, maybe a new painting, some new jewelry, some new sculpture, whatever it is. What is it? Start talking about it. Are you starting to sketch something? What are you starting to do? Bring people into that world. And that's where it begins. It's the easiest way. Bring people into your art studio, your backstage pass, whatever that is. Make people feel like they're back there with you. Like you're meeting your favorite band and you're watching them practice. You know, they will jam and acoustically before they go on stage, and they'll practice harmonies and they'll do stuff like that. And I want to be the guy in the corner of the room just going, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Oh, it's so true. It's so true. I was watching.
They have their high five and like their chant before they go on stage, and they hug each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so powerful. I was watching this other clip that went viral, which is like Eminem first meeting Dr. Dre and being in the studio.
Yes, I've seen that. Yes.
Dr. Dre's telling the story. And I hadn't listened to Eminem in a long time. There was a different season of life. But I was like, after that story was told, I was like, oh man, I got to go listen to this again. What a great story. How incredible. In this other video that went on went viral online was like Kurt Vonnegut. I don't know if you read any of his books, but Kurt Vonnegut on story structure. And it's the standard story structure, but he's like giving 3 or 4 different variants. Like the character emerges, he's met with the problem, rising action, resolution, end of the story, or however it goes with the terms. The artwork is the end of the story. If you're just saying the end of the story, the guy got the girl and the beast died, right? And everyone was sad about it, but they're all better people as a result. Whatever the end of the story is. Like, that's the work. Where's everything else, Nick?
Yeah.
Where's everything else? Introduce me to this. Like, what you did, where you went, the struggles you had as a result of it. You had to go back. You got rained on. Then the work. And then it's like, wow, what am I dealing with now? So we got to talk more about it, because I continue seeing it emerge as a differentiator from keep posting on the socials. I'm not getting any traction. Nothing's going anywhere. I'm not getting enough traffic to my website. Nothing's selling. Well, where is the story? Because the ones to be emerging are using it, and I don't think enough people are talking about it.
Yeah, and I think we have to give like a final validation here, right? We have 14,000 artists on our storefronts, okay? We are saying this because we are seeing it, and we are seeing it working, okay? Right. We are seeing like the top sellers, the ones that are getting the most success, whether it's like they're brand new and they're starting to take off, or they've been around for a while and they sell a lot, they all are seeming to get this right. You know, why? And why is that obvious? It's because in order to have good sales and to build a great art business, you got to generate fans. That fans are collectors. Like, I'd rather call them fans than collectors, because I think it's less esoteric, right? Yeah. It's more understandable. It's more easy for all of us to understand, like, oh, I got to go create a collector. Or that's hard to understand. If I have to think about, I got to go create fans, then I realize there's an entertainment component to it. And all the stuff that we've been talking about today, and that's an important thing. So I think that final piece is just a major validation of what we're talking about. The people that we are seeing today that are the most successful are doing this. They have figured this out. And so if you look at your own social media, your own situation that you're doing, and there's a lot to social media, right? It's not just this. You got to bring people to a close. There's the regular marketing that you have to do. It doesn't mean every post is what we're talking about. There's a whole comprehensive strategy, but the ones that are doing this are tending to be selling the most for obvious reasons.
Yeah. And whether they figured it out just naturally, biologically, natively, or they actually learned it through trial and error, it seems to continue to emerge with traction at every stage of the game.
Don't be an artist just adding to the supply of art out there. Don't be adding to just all the social media images that happen every single day. Be someone who is telling a unique story, and your unique story is you, because all of us are unique. And the way that you are going about your process is completely and utterly unique. I don't even have to ask you whether it is or not.
That was the headline right there. Don't just be an artist adding to the supply. Boom. That's a tweet there. Guys, on that note, thanks for listening. Absolutely appreciate your attention. Again, if you are not watching this, you'll probably want some of the visual references. It's going to be on YouTube. That will be linked in the show notes. I'll link Tim Lehman's video, link those 3 social media accounts. You should definitely follow us on Instagram, because we are doing a ton of live broadcasts on there. We'd love to answer any and all questions you have. Nick, thanks for the time today. And as always, everybody, have a great day.